Right. In today's topic, we're just going to dive into how do we get to choose the right school for your child. Um, in most cases, it's a very simple process that you can take yourself through, but there are some other things that you can put into play to maybe guide you or aid you to make a decision on where your child is going to learn. As for me personally, it was very simple and straightforward. But when I thought about it in the process of the student learning, my child learning actually, it was now a different case because now I'm seeing the loopholes that I could have seen before. So it's quite easy to make them transfer, but it's also having the child or your child to change friends, change environment, learn new things and all that. Yes, it's quite good, but then some of this can be avoided if you added a bit more effort into understanding the kind of school that you're going to take your child to for his primary education, secondary education. Anyway, this is just my thoughts, but in the comment section, we would like to hear what are your thoughts and what's your process of selecting the right school or what you actually did to select the school that you actually taking your child to at the minute. Right. So the first one is the quality of teaching. Yeah, quality of teaching is also very, very, very key. Um, in as much as we are to find ways to check this, yes, there are some ways we can check if the quality of teaching, even meeting or interacting with the teachers that teach there might be a good idea to maybe, or even the headmaster having a conversation with him and how the school is, where his thoughts are about the school can tell you a lot. Then the first thing is curriculum. Before you even think about the school, research about Cambridge, ZIMSEC. What's the difference? What's the advantage? What are the disadvantages? So the first one, obviously, if it's Cambridge, you're more looking into the future that your child might have better chances of uh, exploring opportunities outside Zimbabwe. So in this particular video, was specifically going to be dwelling much on Zimbabwe. So if it's Cambridge, it's internationally recognized, meaning to say some institutions even recognize the English language that you've written under the Cambridge curriculum to be acceptable, other than ZIMSEC. ZIMSEC is more locally based, meaning to say in the future you're seeing your child having more opportunities in the local aspect. So at the end of the day, if it's possible to maybe add a little bit extra to just have him go through to an institution that is Cambridge or ZIMSEC, it's entirely up to the parent, which is one of the things that you need to consider that will help the child in the future when things change. Maybe there are international opportunities. That child might be ready already with qualifications that are like that, right? Then the learning methods are quite different from these curriculums as well. Some might be offering more critical thinking. So what happens is a school receives the curriculum, then they develop lesson planning and so forth, but they're guided by the curriculum that's already there. But the way they do it, the how part might be different from another school. So at the end of the day, it's also good to understand that how does the school teach, so that you understand, is it going to be more critical thinking based, or it's just going to be exam focused? There are some schools that are literally just there to make you pass an exam, but you do not have critical thinking because what you're having is just being drilled to a point that you pass the exam. But after passing the exam, that critical thinking of being outside the box might not be there. It's just learning, right? Then another key thing, that is the exam results. In most cases, for you to have access to this information, it will require you to call the school, maybe ask and have, or even request evidence of their past exam results from the students that have written exams, which you are allowed to ask that information. You may not request personal information like names of students that actually passed, but then the total, the reports, like how was the pass rate, have something visual to see that exactly it was there. There are some schools that have websites where they share more information and transparency. That is very, very, very good. If you see that, especially if you see that on a website, it means these people are quite good in terms of communication because they've given you all that information upfront, right? Class size. Remember, class size is also one big thing. The bigger the class, there are less chances that your child might have that one-on-one interaction. So if you find a school that has smaller numbers in terms of classes, yeah, likely the teacher might be able to pay attention to every child that will be in the class. So that's how you discover some children might need more support, but at the same time, the class is just huge. Even the teacher wants to do that, it will be difficult. For example, they're doing geography for 30 minutes or twice a week. So that's like an hour worth of geography. But the classroom is literally 40 students. But then if the class was reduced to maybe 20 students, within that 1 hour, the teacher may be able to follow up on these other individuals that might need a little bit more support. So class size is also another very big thing that you need to consider, right? So your child might be overlooked in that situation, right? Resources and facilities, obviously, this is one big thing. But what kind of resources are you looking at? Labs, especially technological stuff. That is a big space that needs to be considered. Laboratories, technological stuff, tablets, laptops, AI, use of artificial intelligence. How serious are they taking it? Are the students even having a lesson that's worth of artificial intelligence? Are we having that in that space at the same time, right? Um, Also, just try to understand in terms, even asking when you're having the conversation with the headmaster, just practical example. Just give me an example of how do your students even achieve their practical lessons? What kind of resources do you have? Because you know your child likes playing with computers, or you know your child likes playing with art. So drill your questions towards the subjects or the way he presents himself when he's at home and what he's really interested in. You should draw your questions towards that, because it's your right. You can ask those questions. There's nothing wrong with them, because you're still trying to decide to take the student, your child, to that school or not, right? If you know your child maybe needs some special attention, maybe he's got autism, he's got other challenges that he has, also consider and see how how is even accommodated? Do they have such kind of a support there? Because there are some schools that will tell you, oh no, it's okay, even if he has autism, we'll just accommodate him and do this. But then the child might feel left out because there are no specific resources set aside to support that individual, that child, while this is in class. So it could be quite good to just dig deep uh, before making a choice. And remember, obviously, we consider issues like the pay, the fees, how much is it, how the structure, are they payment plans and all that. Yes, that comes into play as a bigger space, but we're looking at this in a space where you've found 2 schools or 3 schools that accommodate your budget. But then how do you go about to select that? Even if I can afford school A, B, C, which one is going to be the best in terms of finance? Location, yes, we've noticed that they're all close to my house. But then how do I probably choose from these 3 schools? So there are some things that you need to sort of consider. School culture is also good. You know your child is happy, is always bubbly, and is always trying to do new things and all that. So it might be quite good for you to explore that as well and see what kind of culture do they represent. You see this on their social medias, their Facebook or their website. Most schools have these already. If there's no much activity and you know your child is maybe actually being in that space of social media, being out there, being social more often, it might be quite difficult to get your child there, because you want them to be in an environment that they will actually excel. Maybe that social aspect is a skill that the child has, so you need to nurture that already from school, right? Right. Location and accessibility, I think I've already touched up on this. Obviously, those are the main big things that you think about: finance, location, the time, convenience, what time they open schools and what time they close schools. You would have already passed through those, but there, I'm still trying to draw onto the nitty gritty things that you can also put into consideration when you're making that decision, right? Then extracurricular activities. These are really big nowadays. Supporting your child to do what they like, be it even typing. At this minute, anything can make money. Anybody can convert anything into a business as we speak. An example would be recording content as I'm doing at the minute. It's something that you can convert and earn from these platforms because you are contributing value to these platforms and they can pay you for that. So it's a space where you try to understand your child, what do they like, and make sure that you take that into consideration so that even if you're taking them to maybe a day school or boarding school, if it's a boarding school, how is my child going to benefit from this? But it depends with what's important with yourself and where you want your child to be in the near future and how your circumstances as well. But it will be also good to pinpoint on what they like. Then ask the school about any clubs that they have at the school. What sort of clubs do they have? Some of them might tell you the number of clubs they have, and then you discover that they don't have music, or they don't even take clubs seriously to that point because they may be drilled on education, education, education. Then extracurricular activities, they don't really take them as serious as it should, which is something that would also affect the child's performance in terms of his extracurricular activities like music, arts, sports, debate, coding, like even coding. How do they take that space? Even if they have that at school, are they taking it seriously? But how do you check that they're taking these activities seriously? You just even go through their website or even any evidence of the clubs, or even having to visit the school just to see the clubs that are actually there, what kind of support, what kind of resources are being given to this. You can ask these questions and you would hear from the response to just know, oh, okay, I think maybe this school, they're actually proactive in this domain, right? Then the disciplinary approach. Yeah, I think this one it's a big thing, but then it depends what kind of disciplinary that they focus on. What is the one that actually works for you as a parent? What are the procedures that they go through? It's also good to um, know that because it will help you, because the way they discipline the child at school might be the same approach that you would want to implement at home, so that there is also that same approach at the same time, right? Right. Parental involvement. Right. Here's another big thing. As a parent, you would want to know everything that's happening within the school and what's happening to your child, like having to know their timetable, having to know their subjects, having to know events, having to know a lot of things. So there is need for good communication within the system. One example or one sign that you can see how good the school is in terms of communication: when you are submitting your application forms, are they communicating? At what stage is the application form at? Are you getting feedback when you ask something? Maybe you asked about any activities and they didn't have the answer at that moment. Did they get back to you? Another example would be: is there a platform where you guys share that information? Is there social media platforms, Facebook platforms? Which means there is a communication issue already, because as parents you need access to know that your child is at school, has arrived at school, your child is doing so and so subjects, your child is liking this and this more often, what are the extracurricular activities that they're doing at any given time. Is there a platform to support that, which is quite key. All right. If there's lack of communication, trust me, especially in a school, yes, that's a big red flag, a big red flag, right? Means that there's so many things that could be happening and they're not communicating there, right? Right. Then the last one that everybody likes is affordability. Yes, I think I touched upon a little bit, but yeah, make sure that the amount that you're willing to pay. There's some parents that actually don't earn much, but they are willing to consider some of the things that I raised is important to say, in as much as I can't afford a ZIMSEC curriculum, I would rather take an extra hustle, extra opportunity to just get them to that space because they've already understood where they want their child to be and also have seen their capabilities in terms of before they even make that decision of sacrificing for that child, right? So long term, budget wise, also think about that. How much am I paying? How flexible are they? How strict are they with their payment plans? Are there any penalties? You know that. So that you are there any hidden fees? There are some schools that tell you, no, it's okay, come with your child. But then all of a sudden there is a hidden fee. Red flag because there's no communication within that school. Already you've taken the school, you've already taken this child to the school, you've already paid the fees, but then there are extra costs that are coming that you weren't anticipating, that weren't even communicated to you, which is a big red flag because everything needs to be communicated in time, not just randomly. They communicate such issues, right? So communication is always a big thing, big thing, big thing. All right. Right. I think I've gone through um, every tip that I think would be good to consider when you are looking to find a school for your child. So in the comment section, just ask or share your experience with selecting the kind of school that your child is going to at the moment, and also those that have already taken the child to the school. What are you experiencing? What are you regretting that you should have known before you took this child to the school, to that particular school? It's just sharing and also learning from reflective learning from these such big decisions for our children. And also, another last tip that I wanted to share was on having to decide you're taking a child to a day school or a boarding school. Mostly we make this decision on convenience or on maybe the behavior issues. Maybe he's not really behaving well. Let's just take him to a boarding school. But what kind of boarding school are you going to take that child to? Then day school, what kind of day school are you going to take your child to? So consider the behavior of the child. What sort of behavior is it displaying at home? In as much as he's behaving badly, it's still going to be transparent as well in a boarding school. What kind of facilities are in a boarding school, right? What are they offering? Are there opportunities of my child excelling well in what he was already doing before he got into the school, right? There are always advantages to things and disadvantages, but the objective of this video is to take your time to think about your child's future and confirm if it's something that's going to work for them long term, short term, and long term. It depends with your scenario.